So, recently I finally bled dry my wallet and began my dive into Ninja Gaiden with the Master Collection on Steam. I've been having an interesting time with it. There's definitely a lot of thoughts brewing up, and eventually I plan to make some proper big videos on the series. But for the first several hours that I played, I was not having a good time, because of an incredibly strange aspect of this series' design, which took me a while to actually grasp. And I guess the best way to really show it is this. Yeah. The end lag on literally everything in this series is absolutely fucking insane, leading to several instances, especially in the early game where your unupgraded weapons will have strings which are objectively incomplete, where you will strike a foe and legitimately be negative on hit, with him punishing you for the successful attack. It already started as a huge bother, but the moment it became absolutely grueling was when fighting the first boss, up on top of the blimp. If normal enemies were able to punish you the way they did, a boss with hyper armor would be a problem. How big of a problem? Let's say like 3 hours? Half the time that I managed to get a hit in, I got hit right back, with seemingly nothing I could do to prevent it. For a while, I felt like my only option was running around and using Flying Swallow to hopefully deal damage while also establishing safe distance again right after. Oh yeah, that led me to find another thing that pissed me off, by the way. I won't get into the 5-minute spiel that every NG1 video does about the specific conditions Flying Swallow requires to trigger, but what I hadn't heard of and was disturbed to find out was how heavily Ryu remains locked into certain directions. What I'm inputting here after hopping around the arena is a dodge away from one of the boss's hits, into a jump towards his direction, and then Flying Swallow. Only as you may see, the jump continues to go in the opposite direction that I'm pointing the stick, with my attack hitting dead air instead. Yes! Here we go, boys! It's DMC3 lock-on jank territory all over again. I genuinely don't really get why this happens, because it wasn't that way every time. But for some reason, anytime I dodged a boss and then saw a safe opening to capitalize on, instead of jumping the direction that I point the stick, Ryu would continue to go where he's facing. That also made trying to speed up certain platforming sections an absolute pain, by the way. Dude, I jumped towards the other wall! But anyway, because of this, and Flying Swallow intentionally being rendered to not have a high chance of harming bosses so you can't abuse it, I was forced to try make the normal attacks work again. I heard of the term shuriken cancel before, so I attempted how effective those would be at letting me attack and then dodge in time before the boss swung towards me. But not being used to NG's very gross feeling buffer system, I could not get specifically one shuriken out very reliably after many attacks, besides just a basic swing. And even then, it didn't seem to save many frames. I have started Ninja Gaiden 2 at this point. If you're curious, you can check the VODs on my Twitch to see how badly I'm getting my butt whooped. But in that game, shuriken cancels seem infinitely more effective and actually worthwhile going for, so hopefully I'll teach myself to use them in the future. But for this boss fight in the first game, it would not be my salvation. I got really frustrated from the constant ladder climbing, and so decided to run around the level again, finding what felt like a room of infinitely spawning enemies that kicked my ass, but which I used to practice for quite a while. Spent probably an hour here, so Dynamo didn't take me the full 3 necessarily, but it's embarrassing enough either way. When I inevitably returned, I still hadn't gotten any brighter at dodging attacks. I just got a bit better at intercepting them before they happened, and familiarized myself more with Ryu's list of funky dial strings. And then, finally, I genuinely don't understand how it took so long, I saw Ryu's guard shatter. The weird part about it was, I knew for certain that I was still stuck in my attack's dumbass end lag. And so it took me all the way up until that point to realize that super bizarrely, Ryu indeed has worse recovery into dodge than fucking DMC2 Dante of all people, but by holding block, somehow before you even recovered, Ryu will cancel his animation into a guard. That guard you then can roll out of, even if shattered, to get yourself actionable again. Up until that point, this boss felt genuinely unfair and near impossible unless you lucked out. Afterwards, I still died for a while because I suck, but I could actually do stuff without signing a contract to take guaranteed damage the instant I pressed the square button. It's just such a fascinatingly awful design decision in my opinion, to make Ryu's recovery basically dependent on letting the enemy hit you first, so you can block and get out of whatever you were stuck in, having to wait on a baton pass in combat. It's certainly creative, and probably contributes to NG not letting you as easily destroy enemies with overwhelming offense, creating more of a back and forth. But the place where it falls apart for me is with the existence of grabs and unblockable attacks. Not ones that just shatter your guard, but things like Doku's Big Slash, you know? Dynamo is nice, because his grab usually follows a hit, so you can swing at him, block his attack, and then roll out of the guard when he attempts to grab you. But since you kinda have to rely on that baton pass, when later bosses like Alma and Doku have grab attacks which come out raw, you can see them coming ahead for 2 seconds and still be stuck in Ryu's recovery, incapable of avoiding it. I wonder if there's a trick to overcoming this. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm still missing something, considering how long it took me to figure out what a strange form Ninja Gaiden's guard cancels take. But for the time being, the sudden grabs and unblockables continue to make NG's end lag an incredibly frustrating part of the experience, instead of a creative little quirk to encourage defensive play. And I really wish the game just let you dodge as early as you would in like DMC, I guess. I swear, the only reason I was able to eventually get anywhere with Doku was because through trial and error, I stumbled upon the fact that by using the Art of the Fire Wheels Nimpo, he somehow lost the ability to drain your health when he landed his grab, and just tossed you back away instantly. This honestly feels like a glitch, but I'll take it. Anyway, this was something I wanted to get off my chest since it really bothered me. But generally, I've been having quite a bit of fun with Ninja Gaiden. Definitely plan to talk more about it sometime in the future. I don't have much extra to say today, but the homie X Sunny Sunset got the chance to be in a massive MrBeast video, so that's something I'd recommend checking out. Just benevolent old me helping shout out smaller channels when it matters, you know? No, but seriously though, Sunny is a gem. Please give him his flowers. And I'm contemplating maybe starting a Patreon. I wouldn't want to lock any content behind money, but things might get a little funky for me soon, so it might not be the worst idea in the world to attempt making that sort of revenue stream, just in case anyone had some coin to spare. But now off I go, to continue not making the shop system video.